reset occurred in 1840 by a simultaneous flood of mud throughout the world due to liquefaction secondary to energy weapons that were, directed at the ground. They also claim that these energy weapons are setting fires in California and are actually going to be regulated and triggered through the new 5G cellular telephone system. It's an interesting theory. They call that a theory. It's just absolutely amazing to me. This is their idea of what's going on. So we've got a couple of people in chat right now. I think we got Terry out there. Can you guys hear them at all? Terry, say something for me, would you?
Hi, guys.
Can y'all hear Terry? Put it in the chat if you can hear Terry over there. I'm going to go ahead and restart the video, or at least keep it up from where it's going now.
Oh. Yeah. I was just about to put it into there.
No, Terry, they can hear you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You've gone offline here.
I'm offline.
You want me to refresh? I'll refresh. I've still got you in the meet, so. Here it comes. Yep, it's coming.
Yeah, it looks like I'm probably struggling here a little bit. Here. We'll go back a little bit, try and catch up. No, it keeps knocking me off.
Restart
History.
I said before, how long would it take to change history?
Hey, MM.
Yeah, I got effectively, it would take 3 generations, but you could actually do it in one if you were to remove the older people. Well, most of the older people anyway, a high percentage of the population, just wipe them out and simply replace them with children. The children wouldn't know what history was, especially if they were children that have just been put in place after some sort of a cataclysm like a mud flood. And these children would believe any history that they were taught. The year we and presented as something that we just don't know how they did it. But really, if you can face the very real possibility that they don't fit because the timeline and the history that we're given is completely wrong, then you
You spoke too soon, though, name.
have no qualms in saying that it's completely wrong. Most of it has been completely fabricated, and I would suggest that it's been done absolutely deliberately for a very specific reason. The question is, how did they do it? How did they erase history so effectively? And what really happened? Well, what evidence suggests really happened is, as I said, this
shall we? I do hereby name this place Plymouth. Very nice. And what about a name for the rock? I do hereby name this rock Plymouth Rock. Is that the only name you know? Sounds great to me. Let's go.
And so the pilgrims got off the boat and began the hard work of setting up a settlement in the new world.
Tartary, Latin Tartaria, or Great Tartary, Latin Tartaria Magna, was a name used from the Middle Ages until the 20th century to designate the great tract of northern and central Asia, stretching from the Caspian Sea and the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean, inhabited mostly by Turkic people after the Mongol invasion. It incorporates the current areas of Pontic Caspian Steppe, Volga Urals, Caucasus, Siberia, Turkestan, Mongolia, and Manchuria. And I will read you one more quote. As the Russian Empire expanded eastward and more of Tartary became known to the Europeans, the term fell into disuse. Basically, that so-called historians are telling us that Tartaria is actually no country, but a name for land of nomad tribes that were known badly by cartographers until the 19th century. But in the 16th century, just few decades after the discovery of America, the same cartographer, they were able to map all of the main rivers of the jungle of South America, as I showed you in the previous part of this video. So, Tartaria was a name for
Can't hear you, Bob.
undiscovered areas of the North and Central Asia. On the screen at this moment, we can observe a series of maps made by the cartographer Abraham Ortelius.
Sorry about that,
and I will
guys.
use again his works, because I already proved in the previous part that his maps are considered genuine and authentic by all of the historians. And as we can see on this particular work from 1592, Tartaria is actually pretty well mapped and known. There's all the rivers, forests, towns. Actually, to me, Finland, it looked.
Now, Tartaria was a real place. It was northern Asia, and it got out into what's now into Russia, and possibly even over into Scandinavia. These were known people. Some of the languages are related in that area. They're not related to the Australian Aborigines in any way, shape, or form. But it is a real place. Now, the thing that I was pointing out earlier on that map is, yes, they do show North America, but they say that all of the major rivers are mapped on that. Well, you've got the Amazon River, or what could be the Amazon River. You have what may be the Rio Platte, but it's missing the Mississippi River. It's got the St. Lawrence River, but it's missing all of the Great Lakes. And the shape of the North and South American continents is just kind of a passing resemblance to reality. Now, what they're doing is they're trying to claim that these things are accurately mapped. They're not. Just as they try and claim that the ancients were able to predict eclipses with 100% accuracy. They were not. They got maybe 1 in 10, that were recurring. But they missed an awful lot of them. They don't like to talk about any of that.
Much less discovered than Tartaria. I don't think that it's so difficult to see that in the 16th century, those lands were pretty well known to the Western cartographer. The Encyclopedia Britannica, which is a very respected encyclopedia, was telling us about this unknown and undiscovered land of nomad tribes already in 1771. Keeping in mind that today historians are assuring us that Tartaria was not a country and has never been a country, so we don't need to study it at school. On the screen, I will show you that the encyclopedia was even mentioning the various types of Tartars. So, Tartary, a vast country in the northern part of Asia, bounded by Siberia on the north and west. This is called Great Tartary. So, also the Encyclopedia Britannica, 245 years ago, was clearly telling us that Tartaria was a vast country. But today historians, they don't know about this small detail. It is just unreal. But let's continue. The Tartars, who lie south of Muscovy and Siberia, are those of Astrakhan, Circassia and Dagestan, situated northwest of the Caspian Sea. The Uzbek Tartars and Moguls, who lie north of Persia and India. The Kalmuk Tartars, who lie between Siberia and the Caspian Sea. And lastly, those of Tibet, who lie northwest of China.
The official history is hiding a major world power which existed as late as the 19th century. Tartary was a country with its own flag, its own government, and its own place on the map. Its territory was so huge, but somehow quietly incorporated into Russia.
Well, the thing about it is Tartaria was indeed a country, and it was incorporated into Russia. It was part of Russia. Now, there are some reasons that we don't know that much about Tartarian history, and that has to do with the former Soviet Union trying to suppress it somewhat, and try and reduce their influence and promote the Soviet state. But that doesn't mean that nobody knows about Tartaria. It's in every major encyclopedia. You can actually look up Greater Tartaria and learn about it in history. So that's the thing that I really like about this. They seem to treat it as some great mystery, and then because it's a mystery, then all of a sudden they're an Atlantean civilization that could fly into space and had advanced free energy systems that are being suppressed now. And, they had to be destroyed by energy weapons and a mud flood so that the civilization would reset, very much like you see in the Matrix.
In some other country. This country you can find on the maps predating the second half of the 19th century.
In 1983, the CIA released this document. Let's see what it has to say. Or let us take the matter of history, which along with religion, language, and literature, constitute the core of people's cultural heritage. Here again the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on 9 August 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tartar Provincial Committee to proceed to a scientific revision of the history of Tartaria, to liquidate serious shortcomings and mistakes of a nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tartar history. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified. In order to eliminate references to Great Russian aggressions and to hide the facts of the real course of Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians on orders of Communist Party have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed, so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning the true facts.
Okay, so that's actually a very interesting thing to talk about. In the Soviet Union, they wanted to suppress the Muslims and deny them their own history. This is something that we see in a lot of civilizations. It doesn't mean that history doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that there are not records of that history. It just means that they have to be looked for a little harder. And you have to understand that there was a concerted effort by a modern government to try and suppress it. But there are people alive, at the time of this paper being written, that actually remember when Tartaria was an autonomous, or not necessarily an autonomous, but was an actual culture that was very prevalent in what was then the Soviet Union. So we'll go ahead and continue.
Of their nation's past.
After watching John Levi, he did a video about these ancient maps. And, knowing and understanding that the earth is flat and motionless, and understand the way how things work.
You guys asked about flat Earth and Greater Tartaria?
I wanted to look into this a little bit deeper myself, because I'm researching the history of Tartaria and trying to get a better understanding on what's going on. And there's a lot of clues. We just got to piece them together. And the people who are doing research on this, are making strides into uncovering the truth. And
have a look at this map right here that they're presenting as evidence of Tartaria. Notice that the North Pole has got the central mountain and the four rivers. All right, this is a classic theme in Flat Earth and Greater Tartaria. This is what the North Pole is supposed to look like. Of course, there's not a mountain up there, and there are not four rivers. It's an ice cap. But never let facts get in the way of a good story.
There's stories that about Atlantis. Okay, I know some people think it's a fairy tale or made-up story or something, but after looking at this into a different perspective, and now finding out new information, and that there's stories that the Tartarians, supposedly fled from Atlantis, and when we hear the sense of Atlantis, it's like, this looks like a big cymatic pattern, you got mountains, right, that just formed, right, because this is an intelligent design, right? So either the big gigantic giants made these, right, with their technology,
Okay, guys, I hope you caught that. So we not only have intelligent design, we have giants, we have mountains rimming the North Pole, we have non-existent rivers, and we have a non-existent mountain at the North Pole. How many different conspiracy theories can they fold into this one? So this is the thing I kind of like about mud flood. You know, basically they're batshit crazy.
Or it was something that the Heavenly Father, the creator of all things, made. So you even have these rivers that go, this would be north, okay? And it's literally like a rock or a mountain, like, Shambhala. And this is Asia right here, okay? This would be under the Tartarian Empire. So, and if you, I guess what I'm trying to say is, this could have been Atlantis. I mean, think about it. You know, I'm not saying this is, but I'm not really saying I even think this, but if you...
There it is, guys. It's Atlantis.
A flat Earth perspective. All right, this is the North Pole. These are lands that are on ancient maps and are no longer on the maps today.
Right.
So for some reason, these people fled, okay? They didn't even put anything on here. You know, I don't know, stay out, don't come back. Are these where the controllers are? You know, who knows? Is that why on a flat Earth, it'd be much easier just to fly from here to there rather than go around? Okay? Right? But no one flies over the North Pole. No one. Unless you are one of these people that are here. So here you have, that's the same area in North Pole, and it's not there anymore. So, and
What? It's
the
not
story,
on the
what is the
Gleason's
story
map?
about Atlantis? That it went underwater, right? Right? Lost city
Okay,
underwater,
it's not
right?
there because it went underwater.
And
Did
they
you
have
catch
you
that?
believe, oh, it's over here, it's over here, Atlantis, oh, it's over here, stories. But maybe this is the biggest secret right here, okay? So this is the Tartarian Empire over here. Okay? Tartarian Empire, right? This is the Tartarian Empire. Okay? And this is North America right here. You know, and this is where they reign at one point in time. Military-wise, situation-wise, I mean, that would make sense. Okay, let's connect some dots here. All right, because we're going on a flat Earth, right? So, you know, maybe that was a bridge there, a land bridge there, so you can go here. I mean, by train or, I mean, we know they had ancient railroads, so, or by ship, or even by air. I mean, airports.
You know, I think it's great that they're saying, you know, of course we had ancient railroads and we went across the Bering Straits on trains. Of course, there's no evidence that there are any tracks anywhere. And this is just part of his Atlantean lore. Now, the civilization that occurred before the mud flood was supposedly well in advance of our own now. we had to start over again essentially in 1840. Of course, it's not in my family Bible, and you would have thought my relatives, being as anal retentive as we all are, might have mentioned something like that. But you never know.
Who knows? I question everything now. I don't doubt everything. We know they have weather-making machines. We know we can make snow. We can make ice. Was this frozen off for a reason? Okay. We know Antarctica is land underneath the ice. Okay. Right? I mean, I've oftentimes thought about where there are more other lands. And the ancients of this place, the first people of this place, were so damn advanced, they built a dome over us. Okay? You might win a prison within a prison, right?
So
right?
That's where the dome came from.
No.
But
I always wondered.
Something to think about. So, SMAP, made in 1892 by cartographer Xander Gleason. Map this place out. It's an official map. Go to USGS and find it. Okay? It's not a flat Earth map, it's just a depiction of the Earth. Okay? No convexity whatsoever to the surface of the Earth. None. Okay? You go from Florida to New York, you drive across a flat plain. If you go back from New York to Florida, you drive across a flat plain. And so what I'm thinking is that they either hid this land, these lands are still here, okay, or it is underwater. So I guess this guy Corbin Dallas, I guess he was doing some research on Tartaria. And he says, though I don't think that Tartary was solely Muslim, it was rather a multi-religious and multicultural. One of the reasons I think so is the tremendous disparity between the leaders of Genghis Khan and Batu Khan. Timur, aka Tamerlane, looked like the contemporary artist versus the appearance attributed to them today. And they had a vast empire. So they had a mixture of Asian. I mean, look at our Indians, okay? So what I'm saying is, if we had a mud flood, right, and these people were there, I mean, people got wiped out, right? So people got to start back from over, right? You got kids, you know what I mean, whatever. Did they introduce the kids? I mean, who knows? But it's interesting that you really don't know how far the Indian culture goes back. And that's just a whole nother topic, but it's interesting. So, and these people were all over. So they had an empire that stretched all the way to North America. So this is how
I'm trying to figure out how they came to the conclusion they had an empire that stretched all the way to North America. Are there any Tartarian artifacts in Canada, for example? Because they came up over the pole out of what was Atlantis, apparently, when it was dry land, and that was the base of their operations. So they went down into Northern Asia, and they went into Northern America. And this was the Tartarian Empire. That's actually kind of interesting. But yeah, we'll see what he has to say.
Okay. Let's take a look at what the Tartars look like. Right? During my research, I found there were a lot of Caucasian. It was multicultural. Multicultural. That'd be another reason why to hide Tartaria. It was multicultural. It had everybody. It was an empire. It was a country. You know? Here's another Tartar. Another one. Another one. Hmm?
Yeah, he is kind of wheezing a little bit, isn't he? Looks like he's had a lot of lot of cigars, lot of shots of whiskey, yelling at the dog track. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what all these pictures of the Mongols have to do with Tartaria. I don't see any of these guys flying in aircraft or helicopters. I don't see them using energy beam weapons. I don't even see them using gunpowder. So, cool coins. You'd think they'd be able to make their coins and stuff out of something a little more durable than freaking clay. You know, in case you noticed there a minute ago, they had star fortifications around that town. They like to say that star forts, which were very common military technology in the 1700s and a little bit earlier, that this is some sign of an ancient civilization. No, they were fields of fire due to the evolution of firearms coming out. They were very good defensive positions. Star forts, ice walls, domes. All right, jewelry with griffins on it, gargoyles. These are all signs of Tartaria. Lightning
I'm gonna put it
rods
to you this way:
are signs
Chinese
of
did not
energy
build
collection
the Great
devices.
Wall of China. There's no way that the Tartarian Empire would have let the Chinese build a massive wall in their backyard. No way, Jose. Knowing what I know now, that would have been impossible for the Chinese to do something like that. The Tartarians.
Well, the Tartarians would not have allowed the Chinese to build the Great Wall of China. Based on what? All right. They may not have been happy about it. If they could have stopped it, they would have. But the Chinese were able to build the wall. So what's that say about Tartaria? If these guys are flying around in helicopters and shooting missiles and laser beams and all sorts of other great things, talking to, coordinating their attacks by radio, how did the Chinese manage to do this? Great question. Great question.
Were the master of brick making and masters at brick building. So what I'm saying is that I don't think that this Great Wall of China is 1,000 years old. Not at all. And I think it was built in a much more recent time, because everything about our history is a bunch of lies, right? And I really think that all the timelines they're giving us is a bunch of lies.
That's another thing that you see once in a while. They talk about these timelines. For example, they believe that since the mud flood occurred in 1840 and just basically stopped civilization, the ancient Egyptians and the Middle Ages and Jesus Christ all lived at the same time, which is probably sometime around 1400 or so. All right. It was in the past, but it wasn't that far in the past. Again, you have this constant theme that, history is a lie. All these structures are either A, brand new, like the Great Wall of China, or B, they are thousands of years old, and we, found these structures abandoned, but somehow maintained in the middle of nowhere, and we just kind of moved in. This is something that he talked about a lot with Australia. He shows a picture of modern Sydney and some of the buildings that they have out there that were put up in the 1870s and 1880s and even later, and then claims that when they first arrived, they found all of these buildings already there. So it's kind of an interesting theory that old Max has here, and this is shared with a lot of people in the mud flood. Come on. Let's go, doggy.
Who was the Tartars? The Tartarian Empire. I mean, we see this type of, right? We see this type of construction and these brick making all over, right? So I'm thinking, right, that Tartarians made this. I mean, I'm not saying that the Chinese
Damn it. I hate it when that happens. Sorry, I was still on mute. What I was saying is I'm going to go ahead and probably shut this down here because I think that we all need to contemplate the Tartarian Empire and how their advanced technology enabled them to take wet dirt and mash it together somehow in stackable blocks. And, you know, how that could only be done with an advanced Atlantean civilization. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down this stream now. Got 80 people looking, but I think we've been through this enough. Terry's going to go ahead and do a stream over on his channel here in a few minutes, I think, and I don't want to take into his time too much. He's over in Australia, so the timing will work out pretty good. I didn't want to get into his block, but I'll probably come back and play some more of this in the next few nights. I find this Tartarian stuff just fascinating because the loose associations that they use, the outright incorrect interpretation of basic things like where do bricks come from. You know, the Sumerians were using bricks. So I'll probably touch on it in the next few days. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and shut down tonight. I want to thank you all for stopping by. I'll probably work on this a little bit and put a video out on it in a few days once it's cleaned up a little bit and shortened considerably. But we'll be back at Tartaria a couple of late nights later on this week. So you guys take care, and thank you very much for stopping by.
Hello?
Yep, I'm here, mate. Yep.
Yeah, I'm still over on the thing.
All
What
right,
am
I
I doing?
got you now.
Oh, okay.
Let's make sure that I've got this going right. That's on, that's on.
I just muted myself over on Zoom so that way they don't know what's going on. Hello, everybody. I'm back. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of a testing.
Testy.
Testing technology, yes. Ah. Now I've got to, while we're talking, yeah, that mud flood thing, Terraria thing, I've never really got into all of that to understand where the people are coming from. Is that, I think it's to do with like the Earth is only, or the civilization's only a few hundred years old sort of thing, but there's too much evidence to prove otherwise.
180 years.
A lot of years. The Great Wall of China? Yeah, okay. What about the other walls that are older?
Yeah, I've sort of got relatives that would say otherwise.
And those maps that they use? Geez, they're ridiculous. Do something first while I'm at it. Dropped out, John. Oh, John dropped out. Had to fix up a little bit of editing. At it. You coming in, Troggy, or a bit late for you guys? Put there. That off now. That off now. Oh, we don't need that going. Turn that off. Yeah, I know, it's always the wrong time of day, Troggy. If I did it in my daytime, it'd be no good either, because I've got things to do during the day. But I might catch you guys first thing in your morning later on if I'm still around. Be in another another 6 hours. John said, Mike, bugger, damn Mike, something. Oh no. You over in
Don't mind me, I'm eating apricot chicken.
Yeah, Bandy and John are over on Discord. John's mic was working. Go and tell him that his mic was working in here. It's just I couldn't talk. I was talking to Bob for a minute. Bandy supports mud floods. Armin claims to be a Tartarian. I'm deaf. No Name says he's deaf. No, I've got the sound all going on my end.
Passive. Yeah.
So actually,
Yeah.
Your mic was working, John, in Zoom. If you wanted to know.
Yeah, I saw that now.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
Tez.
Hey, Bandy, you
Yeah.
coming on or are you hanging in
Yeah.
here?
Oh, I
Yeah,
was just going to hang in here for
Just
5
message
with
John to see if
yeah.
he'd come in again.
Just having a chin wag with Bandy,
yeah.
mate.
But he fucking old Aaron's getting a bit personal, calling me a fuckwit in the chat there, Terry.
Is he? Where is he?
He's in the chat.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, look, I'm just winding him up, right? As I do. I'm not getting personal. He just called me a fuckwit.
Yeah. Well, just catching up with an old mate, chin
Yeah.
wagging.
Yeah, so yeah, we might pop in a bit later, Terry.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll go back over there
Yeah,
then.
we'll be out there, Terry. No worries, mate.
What's the
Okay.
topic, buddy? Anything in particular?
Well, it's because YouTube are changing the way you set up your live streams
Yeah.
to go through the studio. You got to go through a different way to do it, and I wasn't sure if it'd work, so I've been playing around with all that. Learning something new again.
Okay.
That's all this technology. I don't know. Us old farts can't
Oh,
have to try to keep up.
Oh, fuck, crikey. You're a bunch of young fellas.
Okay, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in a little while.
Okay.
Oldies. It's always the way. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but we try. Might not be able to do the same trick the same way as we used to.
Apparently, Bandy's being obtuse.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what Aaron Armstrong's been saying back to Bandy in the side chat. No, I don't like that type of language, Aaron. That type of attitude, anyway. So you're going to have to lose your spanner for a little while until you realise the thing. No, I do read the side chat, Aaron. So that's what the spanner's for. It's a responsibility. Yeah. So somebody did mention something to do with on part one of this Chris Berry. We were talking about it on Sean's. Found a Chris Berry part two of it. All about. Sound?
Oh, look, he's proven gravity.
Oh, I've seen this before. Uses the toe balls off a car.
Oh, so not a balanced weight.
And just hanging off a spirit level.
Yeah, taped on with electrical tape.
Okay. That's really scientific.
But what are they being attracted to?
I've got no idea yet.
What's being attracted to them? I mean,
Oh, you have to skip forward. Oh, he brings it in. Here we go. He brings in some weights of some sort.
oh look, unevenly weighted bloody kettle weights.
Okay.
So it's already flawed.
Oh, look, a spirit level. Neat.
Yeah, but the fact is, okay, that kettlebell, if it had gravity, it would be warped because of the handle. The toe ball would have its gravity warped because of the little bit that goes onto the actual toe bar.
Did you see what Aaron wrote in the side chat?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna time you out, Aaron, but
Yes, no name. They are Patch Boy and Spirit levels. Yes, they are spirit science. Yes.
okay. So Bandy was being a bit. Sorry, I'm gonna have to deal with this in the side chat. Bandy was at it too. He's going to lose his spanner too. Takes two to tango, doesn't it? If Bandy was being the same, Aaron, copy and paste his comment and I'll take his spanner off him. Yeah, well, I'm not going to time you out, Aaron. I only do that to people that go a little bit too far. You can have your spanner back. Just copy and paste anything Bandy said, and I'll take his spanner off him too. Bandy can keep his spanner. We're watching a real-time experiment, waiting for this, the torsion elasticity of the string or whatever he's used, fish and line, or got no idea what it is. Look at the distance he's got it away from the kettle in the first place. It's only moving because of the tension of the. Oh, he's going to move it. He's going to move it closer now, is he?
All right. Here's the other bigger issue, right? Yeah, wow, he's moved that closer. Okay, but what about all the other objects in the shed? Look, there's electrical cable on the floor. That creates a magnetic field. Whether it's on or off, because it's got metal in it, they have a magnetic field.
Isn't
That's
there
the
metal in the
intrinsic
Rio
property.
in the concrete underneath it?
Yeah, that's an intrinsic property of metal.
Like watching paint dry. You can see it moving, but not because of mass attracting mass, that's for sure.
The thing is, Terry, is that the mass that he's put on the ground is affected more by Earth's gravity than its gravity is going to affect the bulb. So technically, what he's done, that kettlebell is a conduit to the gravity of the entire planet.
And as I said, the torsion elasticity of the string has taken effect because now it's going back the other way. So that makes that experiment null and void.
Yes, Mandelbrot, that's correct. He doesn't have his floaty bits.
Yeah, we call them a tow ball, trailer hitch, yeah, or a tow ball.
Yeah, it is a trailer hitch. He could do what's her name from basketball and suck the chrome off it.
No, it's not the swear word, Aaron. It's the intention. Swear words have intent. Plastic level with bend and twist. I don't know if it's a plastic. Is it a plastic one, you reckon? It's one of those plastic type ones?
Yeah, I reckon it is.
Oh, we're moving. What are we moving for? Oh, just look around. Oh, jeez. It's not a very controlled experiment. How long did Furball leave his experiment in the room go? For days.
Months, Terry. The original Cavendish experiment took 2 years.
Yeah, well, I was with Furball before it even started, and that's shit. That was. Yeah, this is the same guy that did that underlit experiment too that didn't quite work out either. I think I should take no notice of chat sometimes with people talking with each other, and it's none of my business then. Yeah, I remember it earlier on in the year talking about it with sometime during the year. Where's it moving now? Can't tell. Seems to be moving, like swaying. Or is it his camera?
Yeah, he started it 6 months ago.
Yeah, okay. Just seems so long ago. This contraption is going to oscillate like that for at least an hour, if not more, Mandelbrot. I was just skimming forward on the tracking bar on the bottom, then you can see it moving back and forward. Where it's moved. It moves closer and then it's moved back again. Well, so much for that experiment. The underlit one that he did as well, that was table for underlit clouds. Done some observations. Flat Earth test, disappearing bottom on a flat surface. So what are we on a floor? Quality's a bit crap. Boosted a bit. That didn't help. I don't think that floor was level. I don't realise.
Sorry, Terry, I'm still eating.
That's okay. We'll find another video. No, it doesn't meet the engineering specs for flat, that's for sure. Okay, what's another one? He's missed out on a lot of these flat earthers trying to do experiments. I won't pick the hour long ones, they're a little bit too much. The shadows on clouds, part 4 passed to that one. Boats over the curve, part 2. Looming. Flat earth looming test number 1. Clouds, yes, I have seen that one. Do boats go over a curve? Yes. Same for that one. Well, we're going sound. Yeah. Common flat earth question. If the earth is flat, why do boats appear to go over a curve? So is that a flat earther asking that question? Yes, I think the earth's flat, but why is the boat looks like it's going over a curve? That's not a level surface of flat. See the corrugations in the surface.
Not flat.
Yeah, it causes the miraging. That's
Yeah, it's the heat from the road.
That's the same principle as how you get that mirroring and miraging at where the horizon is. That same effect. But look how close he is when he's zooming in on it too. It's not as if he's 4 miles away.
Yeah, he's also picked one of the worst surfaces to do this experiment on.
Yeah.
Do it on grass or sand. But how does he know that bridge is level? Because I guarantee you it's not. It's for water runoff. They design it so the water will run off the back, the front, and each side.
Yeah, you don't want to flood when you go across a bridge.
No.
No commentary in this, I don't think.
We see the increase in height.
Oh.
And then even way back here, this mini
that whole time he was talking.
Almost distortion hook. I almost call this a fish hook effect. And you can no longer see the backside of the road. It looks like it goes on forever, but that's just distortion. And the only difference is he lowered the camera down, which increased the distortion refraction because, like I say, refraction is stronger, if you will, at the lower you go. The higher you go, the less refraction you're looking through.
He's got that backwards. The
2.
higher you go,
The
the more
farther out you go,
refraction
the
you can
horizon
see.
rises.
Hey, the higher you
The
go.
higher you go, the more refraction you can see, because we don't look at the ground from our feet.
Yeah, I know. We're not. Our eyes aren't right on that.
Yeah, the
Surface,
refractive index is actually calculated from an observer at about 5'10" to 6 foot high.
Is due to perspective. So let's take a look at some images and see what we mean by that. What the horizon rises due to perspective. Okay, so what we can use, the way we can use these inferior mirages is in many observations and images and videos, we can get different height in inferior mirages. And I'll explain what that means and why. So if you notice in this image, we have a guy on a ski jet, and if you notice the inferior mirage is here, and then as you go a little bit further out, there's a boat or some sort of object in the distance, and the mirage actually increases in height. And it doesn't really make sense, you know, otherwise, you know, if you're talking about a ball that's supposed to be bending away the moment you go, it goes away from you. But this is due to perspective. It's due to the fact that the horizon, this water is flat all the way up to a certain point until the horizon would stop due to being flat, and then it will basically level out. But we see the increase in height, and then even way back here, this is many miles. This could be 10, 8, 9, 10 miles or so in the distance. We see the inferior mirage cutting these things in half and basically duplicating the top half on the bottom, and you can see very clearly over here this object has duplicated.
How does he know that that's
so
8
again,
to
different
10
height
miles away?
depending on the distance. So the closer you are, the lower the closer you are, the lower the inferior mirage, and the further you go out, the higher the mirage appears due to perspective. Let's take a look at one more to get the point across. So here we have a few miles. We have this bird in the water, and it's got cut in half here, and it's very close to you know, the observer, at least a lot closer than the other observations. Here, about 6 miles out, we have some inferior miraging going on with these trees. 10 miles, we have this building here with these windows, and 12, the last building, cut in half, and it matches perfectly with perspective. I mean, 12 miles out, you should not have an inferior mirage line this high up. It should be dropping instantly away if it's on a ball. And then the black lines just represent the lowering of the buildings due to perspective, and the rising of the base due to perspective as well. Let's take a look at this video, right? Another Phuket word. He lines up these bottles, and as you can see, they're all the same bottle, same brand, and the same height, and they appear to drop due to perspective. So that one, again, is pretty simple.
Oh yeah, I debunked that on Jose's,
All right,
I think.
4.
That
As
bottle
objects
experiment.
get farther out, the diffraction limit sets in, and the object merges into itself. So what does that mean exactly, and what is the diffraction limit? So diffraction limited system, the resolution of an optical imaging system, a microscope, telescope, or camera can be limited by factors such as imperfection in the lenses or misalignment. However, there's also a principal limit to the resolution of any optical system due to the physics of diffraction. An optical system with resolution performance at the instrument's theoretical limit is said to be diffraction limited. So let's look at another sort of explanation and example. So basically this means that the farther away something is, the less light is emitted into the lens, and it's harder for the lens and the aperture of the lens specifically to receive that light. And what happens is, as things that are close are, call it individualized, as those things get further away and smaller, and you have light diffraction, those objects which have not physically moved start to merge together like this. And this is something that we've seen many times before, and again, talking about boats going over a curve. Let me see here. Wrong. You know, when we're looking at something like this, and right here you see the detail of the boat, you see the whole of the boat, you see the top, you see lights, and as that boat gets further away, I mean, already it's only, say, a mile away or whatever, and the detail is just not quite the same. And then when it gets much further away, there's basically no detail. This is the diffraction limit of the camera, the light that's being emitted, going through the atmosphere, etc. It just can't resolve it. And lastly, 5. The object above an inferior mirage
because he's got a shitty
is sitting
camera.
on top of the water and is not dropping. So let's take again a look at a couple of pictures. So this picture is showing a car coming at the cameraman or person from a sort of an unknown far distance, maybe 3 miles, 4 miles, and then coming in each subsequent shot closer, closer, closer. So we can really deduce a lot from this image. Let's start down here where the car is actually a little bit closer than in the last image. So what we can see here is that the black line that I've drawn in each of these squares is the inferior mirage line. It's the line that separates the real object above from the refracted, mirrored object below. And we know for a fact that the object above is the real object. It's not loomed or super loomed or a hologram or anything like that. You cannot have a refracted image refract upon itself. That's just not possible, the way that the refraction and light work. So let's take a look at some of the things that I've already outlined and see if we can pinpoint some of the points. So as the car, if we go in reverse as the car is getting farther away, we can see it's already converging into itself, right? The closer you are, the horizon and the refraction, the mirror image is bigger, and the further out you go, the closer the refracted image, the inferior mirage, gets to the actual real image that's still above the line, right? And that's due to the diffraction limit, and possibly I didn't mention Rayleigh criterion. I sort of get those two mixed up sometimes. So whether it's the diffraction limit or Rayleigh criteria or both, basically as the object goes further.
The who? The Rayleigh criteria? I've never heard of that before. Don't know what he was meaning there.
Out, it blends into itself, and you can no longer make out. I mean, at this point, you don't know if this is a car or a spaceship, right? Here, you know it's a car. Here, you know it's a car. Here, okay, it still looks like a car. Here, the headlights have merged into one, and we know it's not one giant. Those are big giant headlights. We know
that's a spaceship.
It's the merging of the inferior mirage with the real object. And as it goes further, it blends in more and more. But notice it's never dropping. The horizon line is pretty much in the same spot the whole way. And it's, it's at this point, it's just a blob. You don't know what it is, but it's not disappearing over a curve. It's just, if this kept going back, this would eventually disappear into a little point and you wouldn't see it anymore. Due to perspective, the how far it is, and the atmosphere, and blocking it, and light not being able to get to the lens or the camera. So now that we have sort of looked at some of those points and can see this, and now on a flat surface that we know is flat, let's take a look at some snippets of a video I took of a boat going over the supposed curve. And let's see how many of those same phenomena we can spot. So in this image, again, like the car in the bottom right, and the top now is in the top left of the boat.
He reminds me of Travis with he's using images and then only finding images that prove his narrative.
The boat is, this is the real object. And here we see
the
black line
stupid
separating
thing
the real object.
Is like no road is ever actually flat. There's always a curve on a road. Always. The only road you'll find flat is most likely a driveway or a parking lot. But even those have drainage areas. This is one of Travis's freaking photos.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Or one of his evidences.
Yeah, just the certain photos that they cherry pick.
Object from the inferior mirage. And also notice that the water line doesn't rise all the way up to where the horizon is. This black line is the horizon. the boat isn't floating in midair, right? Due to refraction, it's blending the sky into the actual body of water. Now, take a look at this as we go further, as the boat's going further out into the ocean. Notice how the horizon line is actually increased in height, right? That doesn't make sense if it's a ball. It would be going down. In fact, this whole object would be
That's
have
not
already
the
gone, I don't know,
horizon
halfway
line.
around the ball.
That is the
But you still see
mirage
the entirety
line.
of the boat.
The refractive line
It is still
is
cut in
not the
half,
horizon.
but again, this is the real
Dick.
object, and you can't see anything that is, call it quote unquote hidden, is either hidden behind this refraction zone.
I hope that drum thing's not going to copyright, so I'll mute it.
See the object clear. People would look at on the globe side and say, well, look, the boat's going over the curve. We can't see it anymore. All we see, or they would say something like, all we can see is the top of it. You know, here's
that line
here's what you should see, and we
in
can
each
only
of
see a
those
little
photos
speck.
is
Right?
not at the same distance away from the level of the water. So none of them are correct. None of those lines on any of those 4 pictures are at the exact same height above the water. It's a shitty manipulation.
Probably at different distances too.
Yeah, but that's the other thing that these guys seem to forget to realise. If the observer is at one height, the height of the horizon is always the frickin' same. Which, if this photo was taken from a beach and that observer was 6 foot high, the drop to the horizon at 3.1 miles is 0.04 degrees.
I like the photos they use, or not that they use, but it shows if they've got some wind-generated windmills at the back of the horizon. You can see the tops of them when they're using the boat going over the horizon as well.
Oh, you mean like Ranty and Oakley?
Yeah, it show the curve, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the top, it's gone over. Well, again, but it hasn't, right? This is an inferior mirage line. The bottom half is mirage, the top half is the actual object. The actual object is sitting on the flat plane of water. It's not gone over any curve, just like the car in the previous image. And here's the supposed, you know, this is what, again, people would say, look, here's the horizon. It's where the water stops. Well, no, we know that's not true. We know it's a mirage. From here, the water line up is a mirage because the boat isn't floating in midair. And the reason we know that this is the whole object is because, again, you cannot have an inferior mirage of a mirage. This is only and can only be the actual boat. Okay, so let's take a look at that video. Let me see. I actually need to grab the clip.
In the curve.
That's the wrong one. Alright, so let's watch the video together and we'll kind of go sort of a play-by-play. Now already this boat's a few miles out. He's got a pretty massive zoom. It's probably like a P900 or something. And he'll zoom out in a minute. We can see how far it is. It's already, I would say, at least 3 miles, maybe further, 4 miles already. So again, we can see already the inferior mirage line starting. And as we discussed earlier, the further out the boat goes, the higher the mirage line will increase. The boat will appear to get smaller due to perspective, and everything just sort of makes sense when you're talking about a flat body of water or a flat plane. Perspective lines increasing and the boat decreasing in size due to perspective and disappearing due to diffraction limit, Rayleigh criteria, and those kind of things due to the atmosphere. So let's keep playing it. And I'll skip ahead a little bit here. I'll put the link. Oh, here he is zooming out. So I'll just let it play through. Now you can see the inferior mirage line. So he's zoomed out. I mean, look how far that is already. That's at least 3 miles. I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit. Okay, so now we can see the clear mirage line splitting the boat in, call it in half, or at this point, about the midpoint here. Keep playing. Fast forward a little bit. So now it's going to go behind this boat. Now watch this. Look at this. It's already, I mean, the bottom of the boat, right? You can't see it. It looks like this is the entirety of the boat, but it's not. The boat is at this point and above where my cursor is. That's the real boat. Anything below that is the inferior mirage. And we've demonstrated that using images and science and reasoning. And so someone would look at this and say, "Oh, look, the whole boat. You can't see the bottom of it. It's because it's over the curve." No, it's not over the curve. It's the boat's rising. It appears to be rising due to perspective. It's on a flat surface. So let's go play. It's gonna go behind this boat and kind of get stuck back here a little bit, and it'll pop out again here in a second. And I'll pause it. And when I pause it again, that's when it really has kind of diminished in size, and you really can't even tell what the heck it is anymore. You don't know if it's a 10-foot boat or a 50-foot boat. You would never be able to tell. Here are we.
Wish people would learn how to use a tripod.
It takes a while to get past it. I mean, you just imagine the speedboat is just going, what, 15, 20 miles an hour. Well, look at that. I mean, what is that, right? It's a blob. And is it a floating blob, right? I mean, this clip makes no sense, right? And if you're thinking about a ball, it just makes no sense. We know that the inferior mirage is about right here at this, call it the midpoint, maybe slightly below, and everything from my cursor again down to the water line is all refraction. The water doesn't stop here. The water stops here. You just can't see it because refraction has blended the color of the sky in with the sort of call it top portion of the water. And the boat's gotten smaller due to perspective, and it's starting to haze and phase out due to the atmosphere, due to the light not being able to hit the camera anymore. And then it goes on. He zooms back out.
He just debunked his claim.
Play. Look at this.
Why? What did he say? I missed that. I was reading something.
Okay. So all this has done is zoom out to what's classified as a damn mirage beyond the horizon. And as he just said, due to perspective, but also due to the atmosphere. That boat is not physically there. That is a damn mirage.
It's just this clip. This makes no sense, right? And if you're thinking about a ball, it just makes no sense. We know that the inferior mirage is about right here at this, call it the midpoint, maybe slightly below, and everything from my cursor again down to the water line is all refraction. The water doesn't stop here. The water stops here. You just can't see it because refraction has blended the color of the sky in with the sort of call it top portion of the water. And the boat's gotten smaller due to perspective, and it's starting to haze and phase out due to the atmosphere, due to the light not being able to hit the camera anymore. And then it goes on. He zooms back out. Play. Look at this. It's just gonna disappear. It's in the atmosphere. But look, it's not dropping over anything. It's still sitting here, floating, if you will. It should be going down, and it's not. Let it play.
Why would it go
like
down
this weird TIE fighter looking
when refraction
thing,
makes
right?
things
I mean,
go
what is going on
up?
here? Clearly, the boat, you cut the boat in half, and you still have the whole boat.
See, this is
call
why
it
it's a
visible
mirage,
to some degree.
because he's gone backwards and it's shrunk. Because it's shrunk uniformly. That is not the physical object. It's like watching a car going off into the distance. But even though it's going up a hill, you watch it uniformly get smaller, right? But when it comes to a boat going over the horizon, the boat gets thinner from top to bottom, but not from side to side. And what's happened with this little image is because it's all squashed evenly, it's not even, it's an illusion.
Oh, there might be a word for that. It starts with M.
Oh, mirage.
Agreed. minus
Do I win
the
brownie points?
fact that you can't tell what the heck it is because it's all converged together, just like in the image of the car that we saw. It's all been combined, and then eventually it just disappears, and not because it's gone anywhere, not gone down anywhere. It's disappearing because the camera can't see that far, so to speak. The light from the boat
camera
is
can
not
see
getting to the
that
camera
far.
any longer because
Yeah,
of the
see
atmosphere.
how it
It's really
disappears
that
into the
simple.
sky?
And now it's gone.
It's
and
not
people would say,
there.
"Oh, that boat went over the
Yeah,
curve." No, it
that's
never
how
dropped
mirages work.
once. It only, in
Yeah.
fact, appeared to rise due to
See,
perspective.
By pulling the camera back, he just debunked it.
What is an inferior mirage, and how does it prove the cliffs were not behind the curve? The hot tarmac road, inferior mirage, is the situation most people have witnessed. On a hot sunny day, that tarmac or concrete road absorbs the sunlight, considerably raising its temperature. The hot road heats the layer of air directly over it. This results in an air density gradient that consists of a layer of hotter, less dense air above the road, underneath a layer of cooler, more dense air above it. The light reflecting off the car and passing through the density gradient is refracted in an upward direction, resulting in an inferior mirage, being observed as illustrated below. Sunlight reflects off the car. Light refracts in an upward direction. Human brain assumes light travels in a straight line and sees the refracted image at the end of the green dashed line, called an inferior mirage. An air density gradient is present. Cooler, more dense air is above warmer, less dense air. The light changes direction in an upward direction relative to its prior direction of travel. This type of refraction produces an inferior mirage. The refracted image is always observed inverted and below the actual object. Simple way to remember: image below object equals upward refraction of light. This is a proved and known scientific principle. The inferior mirage over water. Another example of the upward refraction of light. A portion of light from the sun is reflecting off of the buildings and land and traveling out to sea towards the observer. Light rays initially traveling downwards towards the sea will pass through the density gradient and be refracted in an upward direction. This results in the viewer out on the sea looking back at the land observes an inverted image known as an inferior mirage. The refraction of light in an upward direction. Note, below the yellow line is actually sea, but it cannot be observed because we are observing the inferior mirage of the boat in front of it. The same as on a hot day, it looks like a pool of water is in front of a person standing on the black tarmac.
Not on the water.
Were inferior mirages occurring along the coast? Inferior mirages can be observed all along points of the coast in the video footage. Inverted images can be observed underneath the actual objects,
Do I have
cliffs,
to bring up
which
the
occur
picture?
due to the refraction of light.
I mean, like, are these guys really that freaking thick? Okay, on his top picture, he's got the red line on the water line, and then he lifts it as it zooms in. That's not how perspective works. The road and the water do not refract the same. The index on the road is different to the index above water.
Proof of an inferior mirage and light refracting in an upward direction is an observed inverted image under the actual object, which is easily detected by drawing an appropriate mirror line through the picture. The green line represents a ray of reflected light traveling in a straight line. The pink line represents the path of a ray of light being refracted in an upward direction, which is necessary if an inferior mirage is to be observed. If the actual object is behind the curve, can the ray of light refracting in an upward direction be observed by the camera at point B? No, it will obviously travel over the camera. If the light refracting in an upward direction travels over the camera, will an inferior mirage be observed by the camera? No, obviously not. On a globe, it is not possible for an inferior mirage, an inverted image underneath the actual object, to be observed because the ray of light refracting in an upward direction will not enter the observer's eye or device.
I like the way they say it will not enter.
However, it is possible for an inferior mirage to be observed as an inverted image underneath the actual object at a distance of 44.2 kilometers or 27.4 miles over a flat surface. Would light being assumed to bend around the curve produce an inferior mirage? No, it will not. If this was occurring, then only a normal image will be observed as illustrated in the diagram below. Is it at all possible for an inferior mirage to be seen on a globe? Note, for an inferior mirage to be seen, the ray of light must be refracting in an upward direction as it enters the observer's eye or device. For the light to reach point B from point A, the following stages would have to occur. 1. The sunlight reflects off the cliffs and travels around the globe. 2. The light then starts to refract in a downward direction due to the sudden presence of a vertical density gradient. This does not ever happen under normal everyday conditions in the UK. The light then starts to refract in an upward direction due to an immediate inversion in the vertical density gradient. This does not ever happen under normal everyday conditions in the UK. 4. But this would only result in inferior mirage, inverted refracted image, being seen by the observer and not the actual object, and this does not happen. Are there any photos that show this? No. Applying the known scientific principles of light, refraction, and density gradients at sea, it is not possible for an inferior mirage, a downward inverted image, to be observed underneath the actual object under normal, non-specialized, non-manipulated atmospheric conditions on a globe. If anyone says it is possible for an inferior mirage, downward inverted image, to be observed underneath the actual object on a globe under normal, non-specialized, non-manipulated atmospheric conditions, draw a diagram for them as illustrated below and ask them to sketch on it how it will work, following the known scientific principles. 1. The observer must see the actual object and a downward inverted image, inferior mirage, underneath it. 2. The rays of light that result in the observer seeing the inferior mirage must be refracting in an upward direction as they enter the eye or device. And 3. The density gradient must be vertically identical across the surface of the water from points A to B. When a person cannot do this, they will engage in one or more of the following: obfuscation, deflection, word salad, direct you to a model. If they attempt any of the 4 points above, ask them for their own personally empirical evidence to support what they are saying. When you don't receive it, which you won't, you will immediately know the person is disingenuous and lying. No known scientific principles can be applied to this observation that disproves that we do not live on a globe, or similar sized oblate spheroid ellipsoid. with a radius of approximately 6,371 kilometers, or 3,959 miles. It is incontrovertible, unless you're a science denier.
Oh, there you go.
Hello, Pip. You're testing out stuff, are you, love?
I may drop out. Who knows? Laugh out loud.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Only just.
Only just here. Are you using a microphone?
No, it's built into the headset as far as I know.
Okay.
Oh, it might not work. I've hooked up the laptop to a
Yeah, I can hear you. At least we can hear you, so at least you've got it that far. I don't know who else has brought anything out today. Going by notifications. Where's Wally uploaded that guy reaches peak intellectual dishonesty, or is he just blowing smoke up out collective clackers? That was 10 hours ago.
Yeah, I blame Pip because this is when all those videos come out, is while she's sleeping.
Copy that. That into homework for now. What's all this homework stuff? John, what have you been putting into homework that's not homework? It's stuff to be reviewed on the show. Traditional lands of Australia and Aboriginals. Put it in the wrong section, John. Where do we go? Oop, pause that. I was waiting for a couple of people to come on so I could go and have my little bit of dinner. No, we'll watch Wally. He only goes for 7 minutes.
G'day everybody, where's Wally here? Well, we're going to go back to that guy because that guy is still being, well, that guy. So today he was driving around and he saw a couple of clouds, so he stopped to shout at them. Actually, he didn't stop, he just kept driving, holding the steering wheel with his knee and says, I can do that. Okay. Anyway, That contrail thing, that guy, is so old, it was debunked long, long ago. Do you not ever do any research? Did you ever research the stoichiometry of jet fuel combustion? I did. And guess what? It shows that for every litre of jet fuel that burns, there is 1 litre of water vapour, not water vapour, 1 litre of water produced in the exhaust stream. Tell me that isn't going to create a cloud or two. So is that it, that guy? You told us there was some big thing coming in with planes and all you gave us was a couple of skinny clouds.
These are not contrails. And the fact that they do not act like contrails at all. Contrails evaporate immediately. They don't spread out and make clouds. But the trolls still troll. Still spread that misinformation. Still lie. Still deceive.
Who told you that chemtrails persist while contrails are short-lived? Did you research that? I mean, the time taken for a dispersal of that is really down to atmospherics, like temperature and humidity and wind speed. Anyway, that guy, I showed you quite a few things and you haven't responded. Your silence is deafening. I showed you a whole lot of stuff about the South Magnetic Pole and all I got was... I showed you curving power lines over Lake Pontchartrain. All I got was... I even showed you just how both ends of a compass magnet and the North Pole and the South Pole of the Earth are always coplanar. All I got was...
Start thinking before commenting. And maybe research the subject you're arguing against before you argue, right? Just something smart people do. Look up Harvard University blocks the sun and get back to me. I'll wait. Till then.
Okay, so research University of Harvard blocks the sun. Okay, start the clock. Okay, done. Well, it looks like nothing in this thing here matches. So only $3 million, that's not real big. Only 2 flights, steerable balloons, not planes. Southwest United States, not Florida. First half of 2019. 100 grams of amount released. Extremely modest test. So unless you are seeing a plane that looks like this big yellow thing, I don't think you've got anything to worry about at Harvard University. I think you better try again.
And maybe research the subject you're arguing against before you argue, right? Just something smart people do. Science is testing the observed natural phenomenon. Vacuums aren't natural.
You know, saying that a vacuum isn't natural is just like SpongeBob SquarePants saying that air isn't natural. It's totally natural, mate. And just to prove the point that a vacuum is totally natural, look, I'll just pop next door and ask Wolfie. Yes, he's in his office. Hey, Wolfie, what is the percentage of vacuum outside the plane at 47,000 feet? You know, if you compare that to down at the ground level.
Up at 47,000 feet, the outside air pressure is less than 2 psi.
Yeah.
And that is just 13% of what we experience at ground level, 14.7 psi.
Yeah.
So it's close to a vacuum. And that is the reason why aircraft have to be pressurized when flying at high altitudes, because the human body cannot survive with such low air pressure.
Yeah.
The percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere is around 21%, and the partial pressure of that oxygen is proportionately less at altitude.
Yeah.
That is also the reason why we need to keep our oxygen masks handy. In the event of an explosive decompression in the aircraft, we would go unconscious if we don't get those oxygen masks on within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, okay, mate, I've got to get back to work. See ya. Bye. Whew, lucky to get out there alive. That guy can talk the leg off an iron pipe. So, as you can see, a vacuum is quite a natural state on this planet even. And even with a straw. Put your mouth around a straw and suck really hard. I believe a human mouth can get down to about 90% of the way to a vacuum. I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyway, Action Labs guy has got that experiment on his channel. I'll show you a little bit more of Action Lab in a minute.
An object at rest will remain at rest for eternity until an outside force is applied.
Well, that guy seems like you know a little bit of your physics. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object at motion stays in motion with the same speed and the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Very good. So, That force, we usually write it as F equals ma. So that guy, where is the acceleration that causes a ball to fall in air, let's say? And why does a helium balloon fall in a vacuum?
3, 2, 1.
Actually, check out this helium balloon in a vacuum.
Tie a knot in
Now
it.
this guy, Action Labs, he does some great stuff with his
Terry,
little
did he tie
vacuum
a
chamber
knot
that he's
in
got.
it?
I
He
don't
even
know.
put some flies in
Yeah,
there
he
one
tied
day,
a
but
knot
I'll
in
let
it.
you go and find that. So look
Oh,
what
we got a
happens when he
shroomy.
removes all the
Yeah, I see
air
a shroomy.
and the balloon, helium balloon, falls down. Put the air back in again and it rises up. What is giving the direction to that movement and why? That guy, come on, you're smart.
Oh, they both fell.
Self-reported smart. Okay, you think you got an answer for that one. How does my cell phone know to rotate the screen? So the sensor chip is inside the phone, it's buried
It's
deep in
got an
epoxy and it's isolated
accelerometer,
from the
Wally.
atmosphere around it. The phone neither goes up nor down, it just rotates in space, and yet the phone knows which way's up, which way's down. That is due to gravity.
Just doing a little comment check-in again.
And finally, that guy, when you do those
paranoid.
segments where you're reading comments, it is so confusing. Can you please put on a Conspiracy Cats-like silly voice so I know who is you? Make you the silly voice, it'll make more sense logically that way. Because when you're reading those things, all of a sudden, you're making sense. And I'm thinking, hey, this guy's actually saying the right thing. Oh, no, he's reading someone else's comment. So please, make the silly voice yours and normal voice someone or the other people. Okay?
Then there's no point in talking to a coward who's too scared to address my argument. He's not blocked. Wally is. Sean Hawkins is now. If you can't have a two-way conversation, that's called Dunning-Kruger. That's called cognitive dissonance. That's called ignorance.
Wow.
Hang on. How is... Hang on. He just used 3 fallacies in the wrong way. Okay. He banned them.
He Dunning-Krugered himself.
Yeah, he banned them, but they're the ones with the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Well, we've been going for a couple of hours already, so it worked out. I just hope I can do it again tomorrow night. I've scheduled a...
You've scheduled tomorrow's shift.
Yeah, I'll just check.
What's your start time?
Checking now to see if I got the right time. Reminder on. I've got it for 5 o'clock, but I can change that. Just wanted to make sure it came through. It's got a different backdrop to it.
Oh, I like that one. That looks like a Bob photo.
I'll use that one for tomorrow night. Yeah, it's just trying to work out how you schedule the stream through this way that YouTube not allowing you to do it through YouTube, or you go through YouTube Studio, but they're not giving you the option now to live stream now through there. You've got to go through a different way to do it. Ridiculous. But if I go through to the link on OBS, it puts me through to a schedule screen, so I can schedule it that way. Or you can schedule it by creating a live stream. I'll work it out as I go to see which way is going to be the best way to do it.
Oh, look, now she gets her bloody microphone working. Jeez.
Been fiddling. I know. I was saying I've just fixed everything and you're bloody shutting down. So you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we
Well,
hear
we
you
can.
fine. We hear you
That's
fine.
I managed to get Zoom up. I've popped the YouTube chat out. Here, it's all going great at the moment.
Oh, well, that means you'll be all right for tomorrow.
I hope so.
Well, we
I
know
can remember
so.
what it's all going great at the moment.
Sounds working through there. Okay then. Well, I might shut it down for now. I'm not going to stay up until 1 o'clock tonight.
No.
I'll stay up till 1 o'clock tomorrow night, but not tonight.
Yeah, I dropped out yesterday because I fucking fell asleep.
I did as well. I wasn't long up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hanging in there for a little while, you guys. Brian didn't get to talk much. Brian probably fell asleep.
Yeah, of course he did. But no, got to help where we can, buddy.
Yeah. We just filled in a little bit of time with whatever, and the first problem I had, it wasn't live streaming, so I had to figure out why it wasn't doing that.
Sorry, trip and fall. Unless Terry's got daytime, nighttime, sexy.
Oh, that
sexy.
one. Oh shit, where have I hidden that?
Please don't.
Oh, but it's a request from the audience, Pip.
Yeah, Pip.
The audience know nothing.
What, they live in La La Land?
La La Land.
I'll just play a little bit of it.
Okay.
Just a wee bit.
Let's see what you think of this. 4 or 5 or maybe 6 men. They jump on me like I was made out of chocolate cake. Yeah. So daytime, nighttime. Daytime, nighttime. Daytime, nighttime. Daytime, nighttime. Ooh, no. Daytime, nighttime. Sexy, sexy. Daytime, nighttime. Sexy, sexy. Daytime, nighttime. Sexy, sexy. Daytime, nighttime. Sexy, sexy. Stranger, I am good at dissecting asshole, especially at nighttime. I can't charge for it, but it makes my life fun. Yeah. Oh yes, I like asshole, especially at nighttime. Antonio is coming out. Daytime, nighttime. Sexy, sexy. Daytime, nighttime.
There's plenty.
Phew.
Pip's gonna puke.
Looking for the puke emoji cup.
No, I haven't. I don't know if we got one. Okay, guys. See you out in the outside chat. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone. See you later.
Bye-bye.